On the morning of December 1st, 1948, beachgoers in Adelaide, Australia, found a man slumped against the seawall at Somerton Park, his legs stretched toward the water and a half-smoked cigarette resting on his collar. He was dead. He wore a neatly pressed suit, a clean shirt, a tie, and polished shoes, yet he carried no wallet, no cash, and no identification of any kind. Every label had been carefully cut out of his clothing. Police assumed they would have his name within days. They were wrong by 73 years. Here is what investigators knew at the start. The man was about 45 years old, around 5'11", in striking physical condition, with the pronounced calf muscles of a dancer or a sprinter. The evening before, close to 7 p.m. on November 30th, two separate couples had noticed a man lying in exactly the same spot. One witness saw him raise his right arm and let it drop. They assumed he was drunk and kept walking. If it was the same man, he may have been dying in plain sight while the city strolled past him. The autopsy made everything stranger. The pathologist found the spleen swollen to roughly 3 times its normal size, blood in the stomach, and heavy congestion in the organs. Everything pointed to poison. Yet every test for known poisons came back negative. At the inquest, a leading professor of pharmacology testified that only a small number of substances could kill a man this way and then vanish from his body. He considered their names so dangerous that he refused to say them aloud in open court. He wrote them on a slip of paper and passed it to the coroner instead. In the dead man's pockets, police found a used bus ticket, an unused train ticket, an American comb, chewing gum, matches, and a cigarette packet of one brand holding cigarettes of another, more expensive brand. None of them carried a name. Then, in January 1949, the case produced its first real lead. Staff at Adelaide Railway Station found an unclaimed brown suitcase, checked into the cloakroom on November 30th, the day before the body was found. Inside were more clothes with the labels removed, a stenciling brush, a table knife cut down into a short blade, and a card of orange waxed thread of a type not sold in Australia. That same unusual thread had been used to repair a pocket on the trousers the dead man was wearing. The suitcase was his, but it deepened the mystery instead of solving it, because only 3 items inside carried any name at all: a tie, a laundry bag, and a singlet marked with variations of the name T. Keane. Police traced every missing T. Keane they could find across the English-speaking world. None of them matched. Some detectives concluded the name had been left on deliberately, precisely because it was not his. The strangest discovery was still hidden on the body itself. Months after the autopsy, a fresh examination of the trousers turned up a tiny fob pocket sewn into the waistband. Rolled up tight inside, it was a scrap of paper torn from a book, printed with 2 words, Tamam Shud. The phrase is Persian. It means, roughly, it is ended. It is finished. The words come from the very last page of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, a celebrated collection of Persian verse about living fully because death is coming either way. Someone had torn the final words from the book and tucked them where they would only ever be found by a person who was truly looking. The question was no longer just who this man was. It was what he was trying to say. Police asked the public to check their copies of the Rubaiyat for a torn final page. In July 1949, a local man came forward. Around the time of the death, he said, someone had tossed a copy of the book into the back seat of his unlocked car, parked near that same stretch of beach. Tests confirmed the torn page matched the scrap like a fingerprint. And inside the back cover, investigators found 2 things that turned a strange death into a national obsession. The first was a set of faint pencil marks, 5 lines of capital letters, with the second line crossed out. Defense. Code experts who examined the letters concluded they were probably not a standard cipher, possibly just the first letters of words in a sentence or a poem, but they could not go further. Code breakers, mathematicians, and amateur sleuths have attacked those 5 lines for more than 70 years. Nobody has ever cracked them. The second thing written in that book was a telephone number. It belonged to a nurse living on Mosley Street in Glenelg, about 400 meters from where the body was found. Her name was Jessica Thompson. When detectives questioned her, she denied knowing the dead man. But there was a connection she could not deny. In 1945, while training in Sydney, she had given a copy of the Rubaiyat, this same unusual book, to an army lieutenant named Alf Boxall. For a moment, Police believed they finally had their answer. The dead man must be Boxall. Except Alf Boxall was alive. Reporters found him in Sydney in 1949, and he produced his copy of the Rubaiyat with the final page perfectly intact. The trail collapsed on the spot. One detail, though, kept investigators awake. When Jessica Thompson was shown a plaster cast of the dead man's face, witnesses said she was visibly staggered. One account describes her as nearly fainting. She still insisted she had no idea who he was, asked for her name to be kept out of the newspapers, and police agreed. Whatever she knew, she carried it to her grave in 2007. The Cold War poured fuel on everything. Adelaide sat within reach of Australia's secret rocket research, and 1948 was a year of defectors and spy rings. A fit, well-dressed man with no identity, apparently killed by an untraceable poison, carrying a Persian farewell and an unbreakable block of letters. To many, that could only mean espionage. Others saw something sadder. A broken man, a deliberate dose, and a goodbye borrowed from a poet. In June 1949, the unknown man was buried in Adelaide's West Terrace Cemetery, beneath a headstone that reads simply, "Here lies the unknown man." Strangers paid for the funeral. For years afterward, fresh flowers kept appearing on the grave. Police once questioned a woman seen leaving them. She would not explain herself. The city had adopted a man it could not name. And one family, it turned out, may have been closer to him than anyone guessed. Jessica Thompson had a son, Robin, born in July 1947, 16 months before the body appeared on the beach. Researchers later noticed that Robin and the Somerton man appeared to share two uncommon physical traits, one involving the teeth and one involving the shape of the ear. Robin grew up to become a professional ballet dancer, a man with powerful, dancer's calves. The implication was explosive. Perhaps the Somerton man had come to that beach to see a son he was never allowed to know. It was a haunting theory. It needed DNA. For decades, Professor Derek Abbott of the University of Adelaide fought for permission to test the remains. And in a twist no novelist would risk, Abbott married Rachel Egan, Robin Thompson's daughter and Jessica Thompson's granddaughter. The mystery had literally become his family. In May 2021, police finally exhumed the body. But the breakthrough came from somewhere else entirely. The plaster cast made of the dead man's face in 1949 had trapped strands of his hair, and those strands had been waiting for 70 years. In July 2022, Abbott and American forensic genealogist Colleen Fitzpatrick announced a name. Carl Webb, born November 16, 1905, in Footscray, a suburb of Melbourne, the youngest of 6 children. An electrical instrument maker who wrote poetry, followed the horses, and seems never to have been a spy at all. His marriage had collapsed in the late 1940s, and his estranged wife had moved to South Australia, perhaps the very reason he traveled toward Adelaide in the last days of November 1948. Some now wonder whether those 5 undeciphered lines were never a cipher at all, but something as ordinary as private notes, maybe even about racehorses. And the DNA delivered one final verdict. Researchers reported, no genetic link between Carl Webb and Rachel Egan, undercutting the long-held theory that Robin Thompson was his son. So the Somerton man has a name. Now look at what is still missing. We do not know how Carl Webb died, or why no poison was ever identified. We do not know who cut the labels from his clothes. We do not know why his trail led to a nurse who turned pale at his death mask and denied everything until the day she died. And 5 lines of penciled capital letters still sit in the case file. Unread, perhaps forever. The file may be closed, but it is not finished. If stories like this one stay with you, there are plenty more waiting right here.